Hi, good morning, everyone. We will be starting shortly. Let's wait for all the attendees to log in. All right. Good morning again, everyone. Welcome and thank you for taking the time to join us today. I hope you're all doing well. On this webinar, we will be covering the latest updates on the recent Australian immigration budget shared by the Queensland state government. This includes the new trends, direction, and also expected changes for the business and investment migration. So just to start off, our organization, Global Migration Solutions, and in short, GMS is based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We are seen as the pioneers in the industry, offering premium migration services. So other than our main programs, which are Australia and New Zealand, we also offer visa programs for Portugal, USA, UK, and also Malaysia. And as mentioned, we are seen as a premier migration advisory firm. We have been in the industry for at least 16 years now, with a high success rate of 99% because we conduct thorough assessment on each client before taking them on the application processes. We have helped more than 12,000 families to migrate successfully. And currently, we have 5 offices across Asia Pacific, including Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and also Cambodia. And we have been awarded the top 50 Global Migration Agency CEO, which we are very humble and proud of. So now I'll be introducing 2 presenters for today. Firstly, Desmond Ang, our very own founder and MD for GMS. He has been awarded the top 50 Global Migration Agency CEO 2018 and 2019, and has been in the industry for 16 years experience in business, investment, and skilled migration. Desmond has a strong background in financial and was a certified chartered accountant with PwC before his migration career. This is Desmond's migration registration with MARA as a licensed migration agent for Australia. As there are many migration advisors out there, just to inform you, do remember to always get your advice from a licensed advisor like Desmond because you will get more accurate information. All right. Secondly, what's special for today is that we have an invited guest speaker from Queensland State Government, Greg McKean. He is the manager in business and skilled migration for Queensland. And because of his role and a decision maker for all the nominations, it is a privilege to have him here today, sharing his first-hand insights from the government side. Please take this opportunity to learn and also know why Queensland State is one of the most popular among migrants across the country. So before we start, just a quick reminder, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat box and we will try to cover them as much as we can if the time permits. But of course, if you'll be able to provide your contact details, that will be very helpful and we'll be in touch with you after the webinar. So without further ado, Desmond, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Hazel. Hi, everyone. Good morning, and I wish all of you well. First of all, let's look into what we are going to be covering today. We are going to talk about the latest migration budget, which was just being announced by the Australian federal government last month. And then we will move on to look into, to get the first-hand information from the Queensland State's government that is going to talk about what is the nomination criteria. Importantly, I think it is an interest to find out what is going to be the expected changes coming up next year. And also we are going to be talking about the right timing for those who has yet initiated your application. I'm sure you are there to find out when is the right times to put in your application. Okay. Now, first of all, has always been a fundamental to the Australia population and economic growth. And the Australian government this year is committed to maintain the same number of the places, which is 160,000 for this year. So basically, nothing is changed in terms of the number of the migrants that is going to be issued or that is going to be approved this year. It will be maintained at 160,000. So we are going to look into what is the direction then, because every year, depending on the needs and also the economy situation, and it could be different every year. So as just announced by the federal government, this year, the focus is going to be on the economy recovery, which is going to be focusing on job creation, as well as bringing in the high value investment to help to rebound, the economy after the COVID. And we're going to look into how is the allocation of this 160,000 quota in terms of each of the category. Now, first of all, the business and investment migration program is going to be increased from 6,800, almost doubling up to 13,500 this year. So this is good news to a lot of the business owner and those who is looking at investing in Australia to get their residency. So there are more quota available. But of course, at the same time, we would be very keen to find out what is the requirement of the respective states government. And especially today, you're going to be hearing it from the Queensland's government on how do they issue out the invitation for this group of the applicants. So in line with the objective, the government has increased the next visa programs, which is the global talents, from 5,000 to 15,000. So we are going to also be talking about what is this global talent visa. Yeah. Our family stream, it is good to also find out that family stream migration is also having a higher quota this year for those who is looking at sponsoring the partner, who is looking at sponsoring your parents over. And this year we have a higher quota. And last, the general skill migration, unfortunately, has a reduction in terms of the number of the quota. And the places, the number of the quota is given the priority to those onshore. Yeah. Now, so in short, we are looking at global talent and business migration programs. That is the priority. And as for those who is looking at skill migration, though there's a reduction of the quota, as you have seen earlier, but just to remind you, this quota is issued for the remaining of the 60% of the program year, running from last month, October, until June next year. And the quota is given the priority to those who is already in Australia, for those who is looking at applying for the skill migration. Okay, so this is a short introduction on the direction of the Australian government in terms of this year's directions. I'm going to invite our special guest, Greg McKean from Queensland State's government, to share his sharing on the Queensland's nominations. Greg, over to you. And I might need to give you a permission on the remote control, yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Desmond. And thank you to Global Migration Solutions for this great opportunity to speak to you wonderful people in Malaysia this morning. So much appreciated. So we're talking about, there we go. There's my presentation coming up. And I still haven't got the...
Are you able to take control, Greg?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you might need to move to the next slide. Yes. this, yeah, you might need to move down, Greg, the other direction.
Oh, beg your pardon. There we go. Right way now. Okay, now we've got the technology under control, everyone. Thank you very much to Desmond again. My name is Greg McKean. I'm the Manager of Business and Skilled Migration Queensland. We're the Queensland Government agency responsible for nominating you good people for a business visa or for a skilled visa to the Australian government. So a wonderful opportunity for us to be here this morning to give you an overview of Queensland and its migration program. So specifically, BSMQ has an arrangement with the Commonwealth Government for all business visas, so the 132 and the 188. And we also nominate for the 190 and the 491 regional visa as well. Just to give you an indication of the importance of the migration program to Queensland and its to economy and how we value your participation, hopefully in the future. You can see that the amount to be transferred to Queensland from our business migrants in this year will be about 1.39 billion Australian dollars. So it's a significant amount of money. It's a significant amount of investment that's coming into Queensland, and we think it's people voting with their wallets and also their interest to live in a wonderful environment we have here and come and become migrants to Queensland. Just quickly, some of the types of opportunities that the business migrants for this year have taken up. The largest one being wholesale, and that's where a business migrant who has a supply chain or has a retailing network or a wholesaling network in some part of where they come from, somewhere in Asia, and they buy Queensland product to be wholesaled through that particular business itself. So a very popular activity for business migrants, especially if you have that wholesale or that retail network where you're from. Bricks and mortar, always very popular. So construction is our next biggest one. We do limit the amount of construction applications we do put through, but you can see it's still a significant contribution to our business migrant population. And, you know, primarily in that particular sector, we're looking for investment to go into the commercial sector. We don't encourage residential unless it's quite a large residential subdivision. Then after that, we have retail, hospitality, restaurants, theme parks, various types of tourism type of industries. Obviously Australia and Queensland in particular being the tourism capital of Australia, there's lots of opportunity for investment in that particular sector as well. And then we get into the manufacturing and professional trades. So a growing population, a growing popularity in that particular area. Certainly the government is looking to attract knowledge-based industries to Queensland, and there's a number of Queensland programs, government programs that are available to help you invest wisely into that area. And so that's just a quick overview of some of the industry sectors. You can see the rest of them there. Interesting where the migrants, business migrants are coming from. China has always been our biggest market, but it's decreasing each year. It's decreasing in the relative amount that come into Queensland. So when I first started, probably China was about 80 to 90%. We've grown the program now significantly in other markets to where China is under 50%. Other parts of Southeast Asia, Vietnam, very popular. Hong Kong, you can see has come out of nowhere to be our second most popular destination for this year. Obviously not surprising given some of the issues that they've been facing there over the year. But then you can see, the rest of North Asia, South Asia, India, and there's Malaysia. Still relatively small. And Desmond and I are here today to convince you that there's a great opportunity here in Queensland and Australia, of course, to bring your family, get your children into school, get them into university, buy your property here, start your business, and start your new life for you and your family. Once again, you can see the popularity of Queensland, how it's grown significantly in the last 4 or 5 years. We've taken market share away from our major southern states of New South Wales, Victoria, Sydney, Melbourne, and more people are coming to Queensland, and that's going to go and increase, right? So at the moment, Queensland has the fastest growing population of any state in Australia. And that's not, migration is a small part of that. International migration is a small part of that. The major part of that is people from Sydney and Melbourne who decided they've had enough in the big cities and they wish to come to a more relaxed lifestyle up here in Queensland. And start their businesses up here. That trend will continue, especially as a result of the pandemic that we've all had to suffer over the last 12 months. Just a quick snapshot about the Queensland economy. It's a very prosperous one. We're the most diverse economy in Australia, in that we have a wider variety of industry sectors than any other state. So we're very lucky with that. Our economy last year was worth $350 billion. So, the size of the economy is the size of some small Southeast Asian nations. So significant economy in its own right. And the great difference between Queensland and the other states of Australia is we're very decentralised, as I said. So we've got 5 large cities between 100 and 200,000 people dotted up and down the coast. So you don't have to live in a relatively big city like Brisbane. Our population here at the moment is around about 2 million in the greater southeast, which includes the Gold Coast to the south and the Sunshine Coast to the north is around about 3.5 million. And then the other 1.5 million in the state, they live in regional areas of Queensland. So very diversified, very decentralised, and opportunities up and down the Queensland coast. Unusually as well, Queensland has the most number of international airports of any state. We have 6 international airports. 4 are domestic passenger airline terminals, and 2 are major international freight terminals. Wherever you want to enter along the Queensland coast, there's an international airport available to you. And with the Brisbane Airport, International Airport itself has just finished its 2nd major runway. That doubles our capacity for airline traffic now. So now we can, with our full number of airlines coming into Queensland, will be as big as Singapore or Hong Kong. Being a great exporter of agriculture and minerals itself, we've got 15 major seaports up and down the Queensland coast that do that activity. And linking all of that is an extensive road and rail network. So wherever you decided to actually do your business in Queensland, there would be a transportation modal system available to you to get it to your international markets very quickly and very efficiently. The other benefit of Queensland, as opposed to our southern neighbours, is our affordable cost of living. So for your average price of a home in Sydney, for a reasonable home in Sydney would be about $1.2 or $1.5 million. For $1.2, $1.5 million in Brisbane, you get a magnificent home, probably brand new, on around 800 square metres, inner city living, be 4-bedroom, be a pool, TV room, cinema room. So when you compare what you can buy in Brisbane for the same amount of money in your housing, it's actually a no-brainer. Queensland wins hands down in that way. International gateway to Asia. As I mentioned before, our airport has, well, before the second runway opened, we had flights to around 120 cities in Asia each week, right? So, you know, that was, you know, quite a large, extensive network that we had anyway. That will, of course, now increase with our new second runway. The Queensland government, the Labor government here has just been re-elected for another term of 4 years. They are really a pro-business government. They're offering very good, the lowest payroll tax in anywhere in Australia at the moment, and low operating costs. We also have $750 million Advanced Queensland project, which is basically to attract knowledge-based industries to the state. And that grant's there to be able to assist you in actually getting your business started here, access to government services that will make your entry far more easy and flexible, so you can get on with living here with your family and making good money through your business very quickly. And Queensland's also known as the Sunshine State because tourism is one of our major industries. We've got 300 days on average of sunshine each year, and a very sort of middle temperate climate, 23 to 28 degrees for most of the summer. And winter is probably 5 degrees cooler than that. So weather is very, very kind to people, especially in Southeast Asia, who are used to the warmer climes. And there, as I mentioned, there's our major industries. The food and agribusiness, mining resources, tourism, our major ones, obviously. International education has been a large one for us and a growing one over the last 10 years. The government's focus on developing and encouraging health and knowledge industries to come and set up their manufacturing or the research activities here in Queensland has been growing significantly. And of course, the urban infrastructure, which I'll go into a little bit later, and the construction industry going on in Brisbane now is the largest of any city in Australia. Our food and agribusiness, it's the largest producer and exporter of beef, produces around 1/4 of the nation's primary produce and 1/3 of Australia's horticulture produce. So as an agribusiness manufacturer, advanced manufacturing, and exporter of fresh seafood, fresh beef to the wonderful restaurants of Asia, Queensland is certainly a great provider of that. You can see there our meat, livestock, fruit and vegetables, grains, cereals, and as I mentioned, our wonderful seafood that gets flown overnight to the wonderful restaurants in Asia. Our mining and resources, largest coal exporter in the world, also lead production, 3rd for zinc and bauxite, 5th in the world for silver. And although we've got a huge mineral industry here in Queensland, the Queensland government also has a commitment to a 50% renewable energy target by 2030. So 10 years time, 50% renewable energy target. And with the amount of investment that's come in, and some from our business migrants into alternative energy systems, we're well on the way to achieving that. And that includes, of course, opportunities in solar and in hydrogen investment. Our tourism industry, obviously it's going through a bit of a downturn at the moment because many of our international guests can't get here. But on an average year, we would have 26 million visitors to our state each year. It's worth around about $28 billion to the state, employs 250,000 people, has 200 national parks dotted around the state itself. We've got 5 World National Heritage areas, of which the Great Barrier Reef is probably the best known around the world. So having just holidayed in that area a couple of months ago, the reef is still looking spectacular. And trust me, it's one of those things you've got to see sometime in your life. Our university sector in Queensland, we have 10 major universities. Our three major ones here in Brisbane, the capital city itself. The University of Queensland is now in the top 50 of universities in the world, a major research university. So if you want to get an internationally recognized degree for yourselves or potentially for your children, a wonderful university to go to. Queensland University of Technology is literally just right behind me here. Another wonderful university. It was the one that I went to, and Griffith University, the other one. And the other thing that's that Queensland, with our decentralised population, is we have universities up and down the Queensland coast. And our central Queensland universities, well, they're going to focus on animal husbandry and agribusiness and those types of disciplines. Once you get up into Cairns and Townsville, anything to do with the tropics, tropical medicine, tropical pharmaceuticals, biofuels, etc., is a major attraction for students up there. So very diverse university sector located in areas of expertise where you'll be able to get first-hand experience as well, and we certainly encourage you to have a look for your children at the opportunities in our university sector. Excuse me. Health and knowledge industries, as I've said, all knowledge industries are a major focus for our government. Health is obviously one of our largest industries here. I mentioned the University of Queensland before as a major research university. It's at the forefront of developing a vaccine for the pandemic in conjunction with Oxford University. And at the moment, they're getting very close to having a workable vaccine. So once again, you know, a world-class technology, world-class research university that is delivering results for the world, hopefully, with this pandemic. The Gold Coast, probably many of you might have heard about it from the tourism perspective. Australia's tourism capital also has the latest Gold Coast Health and Knowledge Precinct. So that precinct has been developed with specifically high technology industries in mind, including the health industry. There's a university hospital attached to it already. So we are training some of the best doctors and the best nurses anywhere in the world at the moment. And that is getting a great result down there for that particular profession. And that's what Brisbane, my hometown, looks like at night time. You can see the building that's just on your right-hand side at the top there. That's the building that I'm sitting in right now. Has a wonderful view back over to South Bank and also to the rest of the city itself. We have a number of major projects that are currently underway here in Brisbane. We have a Brisbane Live outdoor theatre that's being developed. That'll be one of the largest theatres in the Southern Hemisphere when it's finished. So international acts from all around the world will be able to have a wonderful time out for the local population here. The Queen's Wharf project, which is being developed all the way around me at the moment, includes the new Brisbane Casino, 2 international standard 6-star hotels, and of course a residential complex attached to it as well. And with the enormous growth of residential units that have happened in Brisbane over the last 10 years and will increase over the next 10 years, the government's invested heavily in a cross-river rail. So there'll be an underground rail system that will be linking all parts of the city and then going out to the inner city suburbs around Brisbane. So it'll have the potential to move population around very quickly. So congestion in our city centre will be less. The environment here in the city will be magnificent. It won't have the same congestion that other cities might have. There's also a big Brisbane Metro being developed as well that will get people further out into suburban Brisbane. And there's also a brand new theme park being developed in the centre of the city, or just at the outskirts of the centre of the city. It's going to be a magnificent place for people who live in the city and anyone from Brisbane really to go and enjoy some wonderful theme parks that are going to be developed there, wonderful entertainment centres, and also a restaurant and golf driving range, for instance. Other projects, Brisbane City is split by the Brisbane River, which goes right through the centre. And you can see there's some major development going on the river on each side. From basically out at Hamilton Wharf, where the new international marine terminal is being built, and that marine terminal will be able to handle the largest passenger cruise liners in the world when the cruise lining industry gets going again. From that point there, which is about 20 k's to the east of the city, you'll be able to go along a walkway, a bikeway, all the way to the city, through the city, and eventually out to the University of Queensland along the river. So it'll be basically a walkway that'll go from the Port of Brisbane all the way to the University of Queensland. It's about 40 kilometres that'll be dotted along the river. So a wonderful place for you to enjoy with your families for sure. And as I mentioned, there's the Queen's Wharf project. The small building in the front is the new Brisbane Casino that'll be built. Behind will be two 6-star hotels. My building is the only one that is actually standing there on the right-hand side, and the residential one is behind that as well. So that's a bit of an overview about Brisbane itself. I'll now quickly go through the business program that we have here in Queensland. I'm not quite sure how much detail you want me to go into, Desmond. I'll just stick to the slides and perhaps you can extrapolate later on. I'm not sure.
Sure, Greg, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. The permanent visa, the 132 permanent visa, significant business history stream, permanent visa straight away. It's a state nominated visa, so you must come through Business and Skill Migration Queensland, my organisation, to be nominated for that. You must be under 55 years of age, invest in a new or existing business here in Queensland, obviously intend to reside here, and you must submit a business proposal. The investment criteria for that, transferring $1.5 million to Queensland itself, of which 1 million must go into starting or purchasing a business, and the other 500 can be used for settlement costs such as purchasing a house for your family to live in. So that's the permanent visa. The next class is the 188 temporary provisional visas. So they're a 4-year provisional visa. At the end of the 4 years, you transfer to the 888 visa, which is the permanent part of the second stage of that particular visa. But for the first stage, you must be under 55 years of age as well. For this particular visa, you must meet the points test, which can be which is a makeup of your education, your business skills, your ownership skills, and various other elements. But Desmond's the expert in that particular area, and he'll be able to help you out on the points test for sure. Once again, you must invest into a new or existing business here in Queensland and submit a business proposal. So for this particular visa, the 188 Business Innovation Visa, must transfer at least $800,000 to Queensland within 2 years of the visa grant, of which a minimum of 200,000 must be invested into a business. The rest can go into your settlement costs. But, to be quite frank, the business visa, I believe a bit later on this year, the minimum amount for those investment will go up anyway. So if I was advising anyone here, you wouldn't get a decent business that would do a good return for you really for anything under about 400,000. So that's a more realistic value you need to think about for investing, in particular this visa itself. And to sort of highlight that, we don't allow for entry-level small franchises or small restaurants or cafes. It must be a substantial business that's intended to be grown over a period of time. The next subclass, the next part of this 188 is the investor stream itself. For this one, once again, under 55 years of age, you must meet the points test, as pointed out before. For this one, you must transfer at least 2.25 million to Queensland. You must make a designated investment into a Queensland Treasury Corporation bond for 4 years, and the remaining 750,000 is to go into your relocation costs. And for this visa, you must have a residential requirement of 2 out of the 4 years to qualify. So for this one, you definitely need to have made a migration decision at some stage. We now move to the 188 Significant Investor Stream, SIV. It comprises of an investment framework, which is set by Austrade, our trade commission here. You must demonstrate a commitment to Queensland as well. Minimum investment here into managed funds is $5 million. And there's various range of assets that it has to be put into that 5 million. You would normally have to get an experienced fund manager located here in Queensland or in Australia to be able to manage that for you. There are a number of funds that I'm sure Desmond's aware of, and there's many that I can recommend as well. As Desmond mentioned earlier, the newest visa that's come into the frame for the Australian government is the Global Talent Independent Program, the GTI program. So that's the subclass 858 for offshore applicants, right? Which now also can be applied for onshore as well, Desmond. That's just changed in the last week. So the Global Talent Independent, really it's designed to attract the best skilled migrants in the top of their profession. As Desmond said, it's now 15,000. So they tripled the amount of places available for this particular visa to 15,000. And this is a permanent visa straight away. So once you actually get the Global Talent Visa, you have permanent residency in Australia itself. Now there's a little bit of misconception about the visa that's purely about the being the best person in a particular field. What it is about if you've got a wonderful business, a particular technology, whether you've run a successful business in other places in Asia or Malaysia itself, and you've got a particular manufacturing or a particular research and development activity that you want to do here in Australia, where you've got all the patent protection and the legal recourse to do all of that type of activity. So it's not just about being super talented. It's about if you're a super business person in your own right, and you wish to bring those skills and that experience and potentially supply chains that you have, etc., in your own markets, in your own particular discipline. It's about just having a narrative that can basically impress the federal government that you will be able to contribute significantly to economic development, growth of knowledge-based industries, and of course, create employment and training for young people here in Australia and in Queensland. So this visa is becoming very popular. The beauty of it, as I said, is its permanent residency. Time frame for decisions is at the moment around 3 to 6 months. So it's, in terms of a visa itself, it's very quick and very streamlined, and certainly it's one that the Commonwealth government is putting a lot of resource into. As it says there, they've got offices located in all the major centres of the world: China, Middle East, South America, and America as well. Singapore, probably the closest one to Malaysia there. So we have a direct line to the program managers of this particular program itself. The state governments have all agreed to be a promoter of this visa through our international networks ourselves. And certainly Queensland has done exceptionally well in this visa, and quite a number of our local migration agents here are doing very well, and the caliber of people and the caliber of business that's being attracted by it is having some great outcomes. Well, Desmond, that sort of ends my sort of formal presentation right now. I'm not quite sure what you want to do next. Did you want to have a Q&A, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'm going to move on to give a few summary of what we have shared and earlier, and then we move on with the Q&A, correct?
Good.
Yeah. So first of all, well, thank you for sharing, with us. And I think the key over here is Queensland has becoming so popular, not just for international migrants, but importantly, the local domestic interstate transfer that has been moving to Queensland. Explain how Queensland is becoming so popular and livable. I won't be surprised to see Queensland came out as one of the top 10 most livable city in the world soon.
Yeah, very
Okay.
much so.
Yeah. So now, I would like to do a quick summary of what Greg has just shared earlier, and just to touch a little bit on the federal government's direction, especially a lot of you out there is waiting to see what is the upcoming changes. And I think that there are three critical aspects that I wanted to touch on. Now, first of all, the federal government is looking at introducing changes to improve the quality of the investment and the applicants. This, no doubt, is the directions. And the programs will focus on higher value of investor and business owner. So, so this is very important. That gives some indication on what could be potentially changed in the near future. And also, the government has announced, an increase of the visa application fee by the 11.3%, which we have not seen it in the past, at least over the last 16 years being in this industry. And I think these are the three key aspects. Now, if we are looking at this summary of the current programs, and I would say that, the guess over here and the expected changes could be from a few aspects. If you're looking at, these four programs that are currently available, 188A, B, C, 132A, me personally would think that, the investment amount could be potentially higher in the future for 188A. Likewise, for 188B, currently the investment is under the Treasury, with the Treasury Corporation under the government bond, and we were not certain if this is going to be continued in the future, or it is going to follow like what 188C, the investment of the 188C, which is into the private managed funds. Of course, the investment amount of 1.5 million. In New Zealand, the amount has been increased to 3 million, and I won't be surprised that the Australian government might, join and might increase the investment amount in the future. Yeah. So 132A, this is a very interesting program which has been very popular, because this is the only programs among all that gives a direct access or the direct status, a direct PR status. So a few years back, the government was also talking about, moving, all visa program into a provisional visa status. So again, I won't be surprised that these programs in the future might not be available or will be replaced by something else that starts you with the provisional visa. So I look at it, given that this pandemic is really a push factor for Australian governments to implement the changes earlier, and I see this as a window, this year as a last window for many migrants who is looking at applying. Okay, but of course, having said that, when is the right timing for you? Many of you out there certainly is concerning whether or not it is the right time to move over to Australia, whether or not it is the right time to even start a business in Australia. Now, the processing times does really takes 28 months to 30 months, which was just also been increased lately as compared to 12 months in the past, 20 months in the past. As you can see, the processing time is getting longer and longer now. And I'm just giving a scenario over here for those who is looking at applying and trying to beat the changes, especially a lot of the changes in the past. The trend is July is the changes to the migration requirements and the criteria. For those who is looking at moving, beating the changes before next year July, you are really looking at starting the process sometimes by January. So assuming that you start your process by January 2000 by next year, and we have to go through a documentation checks and assess your eligibility, then we are going to move on with the EOI expression of interest submission. Then we have to then move on with the Queensland State Government nomination before we even receive an invitation. So this receiving of the invitation, which is the stage 4, is the important aspect, because that is when you are certain you are not being affected by the changes subsequent to that. Yeah. So you have to allow yourself approximately 4 months, if minimum 3 to 4 months, to secure an invitation if you wanted to beat the changes. Okay. And that gives us times May and June before July to move on with the visa application. So I wouldn't go too detailed into each of the visa, the 4 programs that you have seen earlier. I will leave times for a Q&A, for question and answer, so that we could address your questions specifically. Okay, Hazel, over to you.
Hi. Okay. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Desmond, and thank you, Greg, for that very insightful information. Today, we definitely have quite a number of information and questions. So first things first, just to remind everyone, you can drop your questions in the chat box and we will try to cover them as much as we can. We have about 10 minutes to cover. And then let's say if you need a one-to-one consultation, please reach out to us via the email and also our contact number. Okay, let's start off the first one, yeah? When is Queensland State opening the nominations? Maybe Greg, is this something that you would like to take over?
I wish I could, Hazel. Unfortunately, it's up to the Commonwealth Government when they give us our annual quota. We've had an interim quota that has been exhausted. I had a meeting with Home Affairs just the day before yesterday, and they said it will be another 2-3 weeks before they'll be able to give us our additional quota. So the moment that we get the quota, we'll open up. So I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, sometime in early December.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much on that.
Can I just ask a question, the same question to you, Greg? There are already 3 clients joining here looking at seeking the nomination from Queensland State Government. And do you suggest that they move on with the EOI invitation, with the EOI application? And would that give them a priority, when it comes to the opening and the nomination?
I would definitely encourage that, Desmond. Even though I can't do the formal nomination to Home Affairs at the moment because our quota is full, we are still taking business nominations and they're just being put into a queue. So we're still assessing business nominations and we're getting them ready for nomination. And once we get our quota, then I'll be a very busy man for about a week or so trying to get through all the backlog. So, but yes, definitely, I would encourage people to get their application, their EOI in now. Don't wait till we formally open, because that's when it gets really quite busy.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, thank you so much, Greg and Desmond. And the second one, is there any restrictions of the type of business for migrants, or can I run any kind of business?
There's no restriction in the type of business. I think in my presentation, I just said, you know, we want a business that's going to generate good economic outcomes, not only for the business migrant themselves, but also for Queensland, right? So small enterprises such as small cafes or small franchises, etc., is not going to be something that we would look at. We would rather have some more substantial business. As I said to before, there wouldn't be many businesses that I see come over my desk that would be less than 400,000 to be a good sized business that's going to give you the critical mass to make a good living here in Queensland.
All right, thank you on that. And the third one, given the current uncertainty, I think this one Desmond has mentioned earlier, but let's also go through again. What if my visa is approved, but it is a challenging time to start my business now? Is there any exemption given to meet the requirement?
Certainly, and as Desmond went through the timeline to get a nomination itself, the timeline before a decision is made at the moment is somewhere between 12 months to 24 months, right? Now, I know that the Department of Home Affairs are putting a lot of resource into getting that figure down. So maybe in a year's time, it'll be back to the 12 months, which we all want to be as a favourable timeline. So given that, so you've got to picture yourself 2 years really ahead, and by that stage, hopefully a vaccine has been successfully delivered around the world, global travel and global business starts up in earnest again. I believe Australia's good effective management of the pandemic itself means that it will be right at the forefront of investment coming into our state. So I believe it's a very buoyant time for us as a safe haven to put your money and invest. I think it's definitely is going to be the time. Yes, the Commonwealth Government is giving exemptions in terms of meeting your requirements at the moment. And Desmond would be well aware of what those are. So, the Commonwealth definitely understands that there are some difficulties that each part of the migration stage are suffering at the moment, and they're being very reasonable.
Yeah. So just to add on to what Greg had just shared, so the federal government has given a further extension for those who come through the 1AAA business innovation with a provisional visa of 4 years, and a concessional arrangement has been made at the moment to have a further extension of up to another 4 years. So should anyone who got the visa approved and not ready to start the business yet, and they have an opportunity to extend the visa up to another 4 years, okay? And I think this is very considered. This arrangement is very important. And for those who go through 1AAC, who needs to spend 40 days a year in Australia, I was so happy to find out that the concession arrangement is so special that these 40 days, any single day that you spend outside Australia is basically considered as every single day that you spend in Australia. So the time that you spend back home is basically goes towards meeting these residency requirements. So that's I think the government is committed to look at all this concessional arrangement to get everybody a full residency visa if you are making an effort to to meet the visa condition. The government is there to support you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the case, Desmond. From my experience, the government is bending over backwards to be very accommodating to business migrants at the moment. So there's never been a better time to actually put your application in, to be quite honest.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying. And the next one, regarding investments option, how long is the investment period?
Well, there's various visas involved there. So for the bond, for the 188B bond, that's is 1.5 million into the bond. That's 4 years. For the 188C, the 5 million investor visa, that is $5 million over 4 years. And they're the two major investment vehicles.
All right, okay.
Desmond, if you just hang on, just bear with me for a minute. I just have to move.
Sure.
So Hazel, you can keep on going there, and
all
I'll
right,
see.
Sure. I can continue on with the next question.
Yeah.
All right, I think the next question, okay, it's on GTI. For GTI, may I know what is the role of Queensland government in the process of applying for GTI itself?
Look, in terms of the process, we have been we're a great advocate of the program. Ideally, we want to see the global talent applicant come to Queensland itself. So we've been using our international network of offices around the world, the Queensland government one. So we have 15 offices dotted around the world. The closest one to you is there in Singapore. Each one of our commissioners has been charged with promoting this as well. So the state governments and especially Queensland are very proactive. We don't play a direct role in the visa itself, but what we do is we have a number, we can advise, I guess, applications that are going to get past the gate, right? So we've had a lot of applications themselves that would come over our desk. They've shown it to us first, and we can give some good guidance at what the Commonwealth is actually looking for.
All right, and then on same relations to GTI, will a highly experienced candidate in the target sector qualify, though they do not have any recent master or PhD or no evidence of job offer?
No. The thing about it is you've got to have a really good narrative about what you can do, what you can offer. Who do you know in Australia that can verify your expertise and work with you to deliver on your goals? So it's not a glorified skilled application. It really is, as it says, it's looking for global talent really at the top of their field, and having a particular expertise, a particular knowledge, or a particular business that's going to add significantly to economic development and employment here in Australia.
Okay. And then on the next one, relations to business migration, I think, can we do property development, like buy land, subdivision and build for subclass 132?
For 132, look, construction, as you saw in the slide, has definitely an activity, but there has to be significant investment in the construction sector. And also, we also look at the background of the business migrant themselves, right? Have they got a project development, a construction development background? We don't want people coming in learning how to do property development as part of their migration process. It's really meant for people who've already done significant property development elsewhere, so that they have a good chance of actually being able to deliver on that. So, okay, can you just hang on 1 second, please?
Sure.
Hazel, I see there are 60 questions and we might not have the time.
Yeah, we definitely don't have the time. I think we can only...
perhaps we should take down all these questions and for us to get back to them separately.
Correct, correct. We actually don't have any more time also today.
Yes.
Greg, on your side, are you still moving, or you can take one more question from us?
I can sit one more question. I have some antsy people waiting to use my room here, but I'm going to tell them to wait.
Let's do one more last question. I think just one question for today. Who at the current situation now with the border closed, who can enter Australia at this point?
Right. Well, there are a list of exempted occupations and also people who are already holders of provisional visas and permanent visas are able to get exemption straight away. So if you're already a holder of a particular visa in the business category, you can apply already. And also if you have particular occupations associated with the COVID pandemic, so if you're a doctor, a nurse, some type of other health professional, then you can apply as well. So there's definitely are some exemptions, but it's really aimed at the COVID recovery process.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on the last words from me, unfortunately, those who is on the provisional visa, if you're under 188, you can enter Australia freely. Some of you out there who is holding the skilled migration under the provisional visa, and we are hoping to see a border opening up for you. Yeah. And so you can see that explain, the importance of having a residency visa, given the situation like pandemic, which have never experienced, in before, and having a valid residency status is important if you're looking at having your children to study overseas, your family to live overseas. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we have definitely covered a whole lot today. Thank you again, Desmond. Thank you again, Greg, for your time with us today.
Thank you, Desmond. Thank you, Hazel.
Yes, you're welcome. So everyone, once again, thank you for joining us. If you need a consultation with Desmond or if you need to reach out to Greg, please send us an email inquiry at globalmigrationsolutions.com or send a WhatsApp to this number on your screen. So thank you everyone for now. We will try to get in touch soon, yeah? Take care.
You.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.